For years, this was the easiest car in the world to make fun of. The shape, the drivers, the smug little badge that said you cared more than everyone else on the road. Comedians built jokes around it. Enthusiasts called it the most boring car ever sold. And the strange thing is, they were arguing about a car that had quietly become one of the most important machines of the 21st century. Because while everyone was laughing, the Toyota Prius was doing something no car had done before. It was changing what a car was allowed to be. And it would end up reshaping the entire industry that mocked it. The question is, how a car this uncool became this powerful, and whether the bet behind it made Toyota or trapped it. To understand the Prius, you have to go back to a Toyota that was scared. In 1993, Toyota was the most profitable car maker in Japan, selling reliable, sensible, gasoline cars by the million. And that was exactly the problem. Executives looked at the next century and saw a world running out of cheap oil, choking on emissions, and turning against the very product Toyota was best at. So they started a secret project with a deliberately vague name, G21, a car for the 21st century. At first, the goal was modest: build a small car that used about 1.5 times less fuel than normal. Then, in late 1994, a senior executive changed the rules. He told the project's chief engineer, a quiet manager named Takeshi Uchiyamada, to double the fuel economy, not improve it, double it. Uchiyamada had never even designed a car before. Now he'd been handed an impossible target, a blank sheet, and the unspoken understanding that if he failed, it would be his name on it. The safe move was to refuse. Toyota chose the opposite. Here's what made the target impossible. You cannot double a normal engine's efficiency by tuning it. The physics won't allow it. The only way was to build something the industry had spent a century avoiding: a car with 2 power sources that had to work as one. A gasoline engine and an electric motor, handing power back and forth thousands of times a minute, capturing the energy normally thrown away every time you hit the brakes, and switching seamlessly so the driver never felt the seam. Toyota called it the Toyota hybrid system. On paper, it was elegant. In reality, it was a nightmare. Early test cars wouldn't start in the cold. Batteries overheated, died, or shut down completely. Engineers worked in one shared room, where every problem was solved in front of everyone, with nowhere to hide. They were building in real time a kind of car that had never been mass-produced in the history of the automobile. And Toyota had already decided when it would go on sale, whether it was ready or not. On the 10th of December 1997, the first Toyota Prius went on sale in Japan. It was the world's first mass-produced hybrid passenger car, a genuine first in a century of cars. It was also slow, oddly shaped, and sold, by many accounts, for less than it cost Toyota to build. The company was effectively paying customers to take the future for a test drive. Just over 37,000 of that first generation were built, and you couldn't even buy one outside Japan. By every traditional measure, profit, performance, volume, the first Prius was a failure. But Toyota wasn't measuring it the traditional way. It was buying something money can't usually buy: a head start. Because while rivals dismissed the hybrid as a science experiment, Toyota was already learning how to build it at scale, quietly stacking up the patents, the manufacturing know-how, and the data that everyone else would one day have to come and ask for. The experiment was about to stop being a joke. Everything changed in 2003. Toyota launched the second-generation Prius, and this time it went global, with that unmistakable wedge silhouette you could recognize from a block away. Then something happened that no marketing department could have bought. At the 2003 Academy Awards, while the rest of Hollywood arrived in limousines, a wave of celebrities rolled up to the red carpet in a Prius. Suddenly, the boring science experiment was a statement. Driving one said something about you, and millions of people decided they wanted to say it. The car won North American Car of the Year in 2004 and European Car of the Year in 2005. Waiting lists stretched for months. The Prius had cracked the one thing every green product fails at. It made doing the responsible thing feel like winning. And once a car becomes an identity, sales stop being sales. They become a movement. This is where the bet paid off, on a scale even Toyota hadn't dared to predict. The Prius didn't just sell, it multiplied. The nameplate passed 2 million cars, then 3. By the end of 2016, the Prius family had sold more than 6 million units worldwide. But the real victory was bigger than one model. Every fuel-sipping hybrid system Toyota perfected on the Prius flowed into the rest of its range, until Toyota's hybrids, as a whole, passed 10 million sales, then 15 million, on their way past 20 million electrified vehicles. And here's the part the people laughing in 2001 never saw coming. Every major carmaker that had dismissed the hybrid eventually had to build one. Some of them quietly licensed Toyota's technology to do it. The mocked little car had become the template. Toyota was no longer just a reliable carmaker. It was the company that owned the future of efficient driving. It had bet the reputation of the most cautious carmaker on earth on the boldest idea in the industry, and it had won. Then, at the height of all that trust, came the test. In 2009 and 2010, Toyota was hit by the largest crisis in its modern history, a wave of recalls over unintended acceleration that put the world's most trusted carmaker on the front page for all the wrong reasons. And then it reached the Prius itself. In early 2010, regulators began investigating the brakes on the brand new 2010 Prius. Drivers reported a sickening half-second pause, a moment where, on a bump or a slick patch, the brakes seemed to let go before grabbing again. Toyota recalled around 437,000 hybrids, including the new Prius and its Lexus cousin, to fix a flaw in the software controlling the anti-lock brakes. The fix itself was small, a single update, but the symbolism was enormous. The car that was supposed to represent the smartest, cleanest, most advanced thing Toyota could build had a problem in exactly the futuristic software that made it special. For a company whose entire empire was built on trust, this was the most dangerous kind of flaw. Toyota survived it, but it left a question hanging that would only get louder with time. Had Toyota fallen in love with its own bet? Because here is the twist no one saw coming. The hybrid was such a triumph that Toyota built its whole worldview around it. Why gamble on a pure battery car, the thinking went, when the hybrid already worked, already sold, and already made money when you'd spent 20 years and billions of dollars proving you were right. But while Toyota perfected the half step, the rest of the world started sprinting toward the full one. A new generation of car makers went all in on pure electric vehicles. No engine, no gas tank, no compromise. And for the first time in a generation, Toyota looked slow. The company that invented the modern green car was suddenly being called a laggard. Its own chairman, Akio Toyoda, grandson of the founder, pushed back hard, arguing publicly that battery electric cars would never take more than about a third of the market, and that the world was wrong to bet on a single technology. Maybe he's right. Maybe the hybrid really is the smarter long game. But it's a remarkable place to end up. The company that changed the future by being the boldest in the room is now the one being accused of holding the future back. So, did the Prius make Toyota or trap it? The honest answer is both. And that's what makes it one of the most important cars ever built. It took the most cautious car maker on Earth and made it for one decade the bravest. It forced an entire industry to follow. It turned saving fuel from a punishment into a status symbol, and it proved that the safe-sounding choice and the radical choice can be the exact same car. Every hybrid on the road today, and arguably every electric one, is driving on a road the Prius paved. And maybe that's the real lesson hiding inside the car everyone laughed at. The future doesn't usually arrive looking like the future. Sometimes it shows up quiet, a little awkward, easy to mock, and by the time you stop laughing, it's already changed everything.